There's only one way to fix your Eagle locker room. Guys, have any ideas? I'm going to tell you how to fix this thing. How do you fix it? Guys, have an idea? How'd you go about this? How would you fix this? How would you fix the culture that I think is broken in Philly? Bring back Brian Dawkins? Oh, hey, only on an old timers night. Fire Howie? No. Hey, let's do something here. Okay. Would you do this? This is where Big Sills goes now. Would you do this? Move off Slay or Reddick to send a message to the locker room. And you're sending a message that there's a culture change if you moved off of one of those two guys. Would it be a message that nothing's a given any longer in that locker room? And now, listen, I get it. Significant cap hit. I get it. But isn't it more important right now about sending a message too, instead of staying status quo? Sirianni can't save his job right now unless there's a culture change in the locker room. He can't. Maybe the Eagles don't want him to. I think that's an even better question. How many people believe the Eagles want him back next year even? Or he's just a stopgap guy for Moore to see how he does? Because that's what I think he is. Kellen Moore is the head coach in waiting. I wonder if Nick knows that. He has to know that. Okay? Can there be a culture change with a goofball still at head coach? You start firing people. You start firing players. Players, that's going to get people's attention. See, they fired coaches, right? They haven't really fired any players. Kevin Byard, he was a mercenary anyway. I'm talking about one of these significant guys that Howie made a deal with. This is what Howie doesn't do. If Howie wants to send a message, like Bill Belichick did when he got rid of players like Richard Seymour, look at what Belichick did. He got rid of Hall of Famers and Randy Moss and Richard Seymour, and it made everyone in the locker room in New England go, nobody is safe in that locker room. When he moved off of Darrell Reed, do you understand that Bill Belichick moved off of, and even Stephon Gilmore, who was the defensive player of the year, he moved to Carolina. That Belichick used to send messages by sending those players, and everyone left behind would be like this. Damn. I'll tell you a little story what Coach Johnson said that Jerry Jones and he did when he got in there. I think this is like the anniversary, too, of Jerry buying the Cowboys this year, going into this offseason here. You know what the big philosophy was when they took over and they still had Tex Schramm? They had Tom Landry and Gil Brandt in the building. You know what the mentality was? Jerry Jones and Jimmy said this: we're firing everybody. People work in the offices, secretaries, equipment managers, cafeteria. Everybody got fired. And they kept 10 people. And I said, why'd you keep 10 people? He goes, those people will be so grateful to keep their jobs. They'll run through walls for you. Those 10 people are still there. They're still there. That's how you change the culture in the building. Shake it up. Instead, what you got in there is you got Howie protecting his trades and draft picks, not holding anybody accountable, saying stupid shit like Nolan Smith showed promise last year. Who in their right mind would believe that? No one. And why would you say it? Because why? You can. It sends a message to your locker room. You have no accountability in the room if you don't pull your weight. There's no accountability. Telling me how great Nick Sirianni is in the offseason when you got your ass drug like you were looking for a dead body in a lake the last 8 games and trying to convince me that Nick's a good coach is stupid. It all comes off not genuine. Okay? Make a statement. Do something that sends a message to the rest of the unit. Fire Slay's ass. Fire Bradbury. I don't care, but make a statement. Get rid of a guy. Dude, let me tell you something. You think Jimmy Johnson getting rid of Herschel Walker? Let me tell you what that did. When Coach Johnson got rid of Herschel Walker, he was coming off of 1,500. How about this? Walker had a 1,500 rushing yard year, 800 yards receiving. He was one of the top players in the league. Jimmy goes on a run and goes, I'm trading his ass. Everyone on the run goes, damn, man, he's our best player. Jimmy goes, and? We need to build a team here. This ain't about one guy. Plus, it sends a message to the rest of the locker room. You better not in any way think that your job is safe. And that included Aikman. Nobody ever thought their job was safe in that building, no matter how much money you made, no matter where you were drafted, because Jimmy held all the strings. It had no bearing on anything. You need to do something to help your locker room. You need to do something to change that stupid man. You don't have a very good culture. You know, get this, how he said that we believe we have a good culture. Do you know what that is? Where it's coming from? He believes he has a good culture in his analytics department and in his scouting department. How in the world can you have a good culture in your locker room when you just fired your coordinators? And Hurts, hey, how many coordinators has Hurts had now since he's been in Philly? What's he going on now? Let's see. Steichen. Wait, no. Sirianni, Steichen, Brian Johnson, and now Kellen Moore. This is his 4th coordinator in 3 years of starting. Is that right? So Jalen Hurts has had 4 coordinators in 3 years of starting. That's a culture? What kind of culture is that? Sirianni was the first. Then he got fired for going 2-5. Steichen took over. That's the 2nd coordinator. Brian Johnson's the 3rd. Then you got another one now, Kellen Moore. That's 4 in 3 years of starting. That's a culture? What's he talking? Again, there's your librarian general manager talking shit and not making sense. That's not an opinion. How would you like to have 4 bosses in 3 years telling you to do 4 different things every year? You're never going to be productive. But he thinks they have a good culture. No. What he meant to say was, I believe we have a good process. See, Howie doesn't know the difference between culture and process. That's why nothing's changing offensively or defensively. Everything's the same. They just hired more experience to do what they want to do. You know, the more I cover your team, the more it's easy to follow their behavior. Once you know who they are, they don't tell the truth. You're not going to pull the wool over my eyes and tell me in the offseason how great you are when you got the shit kicked out of you at the end of the year and nobody fought for him. Hey, Nick's a great coach. What a great guy to be around. Yeah, I really looked at the end of the year there when you guys fell apart and there were no answers for anything whatsoever. You absolutely just dropped it. It's a process. That's right. Hollywood, it's a process. They believe in their scouting department. I don't know how. I believe, you know what? I think their pro personnel side is good. Okay. LJ goes, were they supposed to stop Steichen from getting hired as a head coach? Absolutely not. But I'll tell you what they're going to do because they know Nick's not a good head coach. How about this, LJ? I'll ask you a question and you tell me. And we kind of broached this a couple days ago. Okay? I'll ask you this again. A tape show. Slay called you a horrible fan base yesterday. I missed that, Senor. Senor, if you don't like it, you don't have to be here. No one's holding a gun to your head. That's for all of you that talk like that. Where's tone? Where's the? You don't have to be here. You don't. You know, you come here because we want you to, but you don't have to be here. Senor, I want you here, but you don't have to be here. Just want new content? Well, let's see. Your corner called you an asshole fan base. That was yesterday. And Slay and Reddick, and I'm trying to make a comment. I've never brought up fire Slay or Reddick or move on from both of them to send a message. I've never spoken of that. What are you talking about? I've never had a topic with these two. We've never spoken of this. Nothing. What are you talking about? What you're hearing is that you don't like to hear what's going on with your football team and your cornerback calling you a horrible fan base. Back at Nick. Because, hey, by the way, that's a good point. Senor, I'm going to be on Nick's ass all year until he gets fired. You bet. I'm not getting off that guy until he's fired. He's unbecoming of a head coach. You bet. And if that takes every day, I'm going to do it. He's unbecoming of a head coach in the National Football League. Everyone knows it. And if I have to say it 365 days for the year, I will. Nick Sirianni should be fired. Nick Sirianni should not be your head coach. If Nick Sirianni's the head coach on this football team, you will never win again a Super Bowl. If he's not on this team, you have a shot. Deal with it. I am not getting off that. And if you don't like that, tough shit. How about this? LJ brings a great point up, though. He brings a great point up. Were they supposed to stop Shane Steichen from getting a job in Indianapolis? No. Okay, LJ, if Kellen Moore turns Hurts back into a champion player, if Jalen looks great, the team looks awesome, do you think they're going to let him walk out of the building, or will they move on from Nick? What do you think they'll do? Because then guess what that'll be? That'll be your fifth coordinator in 4 years of starting. You think they're going to let Kellen Moore walk out? Since LJ doesn't want to answer it, rest of you can. I'll answer it too. They're not letting that guy walk out because you know what the Eagles covet? The Eagles are coveting a head coach who's a play caller so they don't have to make that decision again when it comes to hiring a coordinator. The problem that you have in Philly right now is that, like, Chris Long is the first one that actually brought this up. That Sirianni's job life in Philly was already on an egg timer because he's not a play caller anymore. Every NFL team covets a play calling head coach. You know what you got in Washington now? You got two former head football coaches that are play callers, Cliff Kingsbury, and on the other side, you've got Dan Quinn. I think they did that by design. You, in theory, have two head football coaches, one taking care of the offensive side and the other guy taking care of the defensive side. That's by design. Dan Quinn's going to have very little say in the offense. But see what you have in Philly? You got a head coach who has no responsibility. That's a remedy for disaster. And then the comparisons that are made, remember something, Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, these guys have been grandfathered in with spectacular general managers in organizations. The Ravens and the Steelers are the gold standard in player personnel decisions, head coaching decisions, assistant coaching decisions. They're the gold standard. The Eagles are not. You're not good at college drafting. You're not consistent on picking. Seriously, man, you're bipolar as an organization, even in that aspect. You know, you need to stabilize your organization a little. You're either here or you're here. And these swings you have are so dramatic. They're so dramatic. McVay is a play caller. He's a total play caller. Now they got a defensive guy in there. That's by design. You don't think Sean McVay works with the defense at all? I know for a fact he doesn't. Absolutely not. You're not going to, hey, here. Kellen Moore is in a audition right now to be the next head football coach of the Eagles. And Nick knows it. He's holding his seat warm and he's holding his headphones warm. Okay? Because if he wins, he's not getting replaced. He interviewed for the head coaching job the same year Nick did. They like him already. They were thinking of naming him head coach. And by the way, this has nothing to do with playoff appearances and win percentages. Because the Eagles don't value their coach like that. The people that they've hired, they don't value that. They think their process, it's not a culture. It's a process. Okay? It's a process that they believe. Look at what they said. I got to do better at corner. It's the first time I heard him actually say shit like that. That's the first time I've heard him say it. And I've been hammering him on it. Dude, corner? How about linebacker? How about edge? When's the last edge rusher you drafted that was worth a shit? Josh Sweat? Okay. Then who? Nolan Smith? Derek Barnett? Help me out here. They can't draft defense. They plug holes on defense. Okay? Why is all your energy spent on Nick and Howie? Well, Nick and Howie have to right this ship or they're both gone. Are you under the impression? So you're okay with the way the season ended and how the organization looked, how Hurts looked, how everything? I thought you had a higher standard. Excuse me, guys. Holy shit. My God almighty. You're kidding me. You don't have a higher standard? Why are you always comparing everything to Kansas City? Because they're the champs? Who do you compare yourself to? The Jets? LJ makes a great point. Sills, no one cares about last year anymore. Then you shouldn't care about 22 anymore with Hurts. Or 23, right? Is that right? Beating a dead horse? What are you talking about? Beating a dead horse? I'm not beating a dead horse. We're talking about changing a culture that's not healthy. We're talking about a corner who called you assholes. That's not new. I hadn't heard Slay call you Eagle fans assholes. I hadn't heard that. You know what it comes down to? Is that you don't want to hear it. But you come here every day because you know it's true. Paul goes, Tomlin and the Steelers' last playoff win was 2016. How does he keep his job as head coach? Because he's never had a losing season in 17 years. And the Steelers have a benchmark, and he's a Super Bowl winning coach, Paul. And on top of that, Paul, the Steelers aren't gauged like some of you gauge your playoffs, 17-17, and think that's good. You see, the Steelers don't look at going to the playoffs as a victory tour like some hosts on my network and some people in the radio have victory laps on that. They look at Super Bowls. They're gauged on Super Bowls. They're not gauged on playoff wins. That's why. Okay? They got a little higher standard in Pittsburgh. That's why they got 6 Super Bowls. There's a reason there's 6 Super Bowls in Pittsburgh. It's not about playoff appearances, playoff wins. It's about Super Bowls. Tomlin was gifted a roster. You see, M. Reyes, this guy's winning football games with a dude named Mason Rudolph. He's winning games with a dude named Kenny Pickett. He's winning games with guys I've never heard of. Can you imagine Nick Sirianni having to coach a team with Mason Rudolph as his quarterback and winning and having a winning season? Are you crazy? He's winning football games with a guy named Mason Rudolph. And you got your boy Hurts. Hey, by the way, how many wins did the Steelers have last year? Could someone tell me? How many wins did the Steelers have? How many wins did they have last year? Steelers have 10 wins? James, 9? I thought the Steelers had 10 wins. No, the Steelers aren't good. No. Steelers were 10-7. So wait a minute, let me get this right. In the AFC, you had 11 wins. And a team quarterbacked by Mason Rudolph. You had one more win with all that money you spent in Philly. And let's just take a look at that. Jermaine, name me one guy in the offense that's a big money guy. And that team won 10 games. And you won one more game than Mason Rudolph. Did they even have a 1,000-yard receiver? Did Najee go over 1,000? I mean, you had two 1,000-yard receivers. One guy making $25 million. Mr. Bipolar making all that money. Dude, they play in the AFC North. Do you understand? Did Pickens have 1,000? Okay. George Pickens, who they drafted in the second round out of Georgia, had 1,000 yards. Wow. Great. Najee had 1,000. Ugh. And Mason Rudolph. And you had one more win than the Steelers. And I think the Steelers suck. Damn. Hey, you got your money's worth. All that sign-up bonus money going to your quarterback and all that money going to A.J. Owens and your overpaid O-line who got shut out in the second half of the season, who's in the offseason celebrating Nick Sirianni. Like, who was the other wideout on the other side of Pickens? Does anyone know? They got Joey Porter from Penn State. What pick was he? I'm just curious. Where did the Steelers take Joey Porter? What pick was he? Deontay Johnson. Okay. What round did Joey Porter Jr. go? Second round, first pick. And what did you take Nolan Smith? I'm just curious. 31st pick? Oh, okay. Yeah. That's my point. 5-star, what's your point? Well, Joey Porter Jr., Pittsburgh developing and player development and drafting versus you. Nolan Smith, who Howie said had a great playoff game against the Bucks. Hey, come on, man. This thing's not really. It's I'm with you now, senor. I'm getting a little bit too aggravated with it now. Hey, what do you call them guys? Fact checkers? Hey, Xander, what's the newspaper? Is it the Washington Post that gives the Pinocchios out? Here's what we're going to start doing. We're going to start giving out Pinocchios when it comes to these guys lying to you. Howie gets 3 Pinocchios for Nolan Smith. He gets 3 Pinocchios. Holy shit. Holy cow. He gets 3 Pinocchios. Let's see what else does he get. He gets 3 Pinocchios for telling me that he has faith in Nick. There's 3 Pinocchios. Let's see. Kelsey gets 1 Pinocchio because I have respect for him, saying that, we love him. We work hard for him. So he gets 1 Pinocchio. Slay gets 5 Pinocchios. A.J. Brown gets 100. I mean, he gets about 100 Pinocchios. Holy cow. 32-9, 10-1. Holy cow. Let me ask you, man, why do you come on here and talk about the Eagles? Where do you come from? Okay, are you even from Philly? Does it matter? How about this, Richard? You're an outsider. You ever played ball before? Or you sit in the stands with your pom-poms rooting on your team? I've been in the arena. Have you? So what? Richard, you were called today an asshole fan base. Who cares? All right. I thought that mattered back then. He didn't say that. Oh, no, he didn't? I posted it on my Twitter page at Dan Silio Show. Who are you? That's what they've been saying for years. Oh, my God. Can't be. Wait till Carton comes on. 4:30, Craig Carton. Whew. Craig Carton, Big Sales together at 4:30. Angelo's coming on Monday, too, because he goes, Sills, I'm here for you, brother. So Angelo's on Monday, too. Sills, I'm hearing a lot of great things about you. I'm going to give you merit badges. Okay? How he justified trading for Golden Tate for him catching a TD in the playoffs, he said. That's why we gave a third-round pick for him. Same goes for Nolan. He's got to make himself look good. That guy, man. Give me a break, dude. Yeah, okay. No. No. Who are you? Bring back Gardner Johnson. Slay rips Eagle fans. Well, one thing I do want to say about the draft. You see Howie with the binoculars? All show. What are you looking at? Guy running a 40? Shuttle drill? Doing things you'll never do in your entire career again. You know everything that these guys do at the combines this week? Well, they'll never run a 40 again. They'll never run a shuttle drill again. They'll never run, they'll run bags. But 95% of the stuff that they're doing at the combines, they'll never do again in their entire NFL career if they're lucky enough to be drafted and make it. Howie's binoculars. What's he looking at? You know the most important thing about the combines and what's the most important thing about the combines? It's the interview. It's not a guy running a 40. But Howie takes that into consideration. He does. / Jordan Davis. And Xander knows this for a fact because when we were talking, I wanted the kid that the Jags drafted, who had a great year, that kid Lloyd, okay, from Utah. And I wanted the corner from Washington to be on the Eagles. Yeah. And then there was a part of me that liked the kid Hamilton from Notre Dame that Baltimore took. I said, that could be something that could work in Philly. No, not them drafting a safety in the first round. He'd never do that. That's MG. I was a suspect of that too. The Pac-12 with McDuffie. And he was, and Xander brought a great point up. He's not the biggest dude. He's not the biggest dude. Yeah, you guys could have had Hamilton because I kept going like this. Man, Hamilton, I like that kid. I like the kid from Utah. Those are two dudes that I kind of dug. By the way, I also said, remember I told you who was my favorite player in the draft last year? Devin Witherspoon was my favorite player in the draft. He's my favorite player in the draft. Him and Will Anderson. I didn't think he had a shot at Anderson but I didn't think Houston would trade up to do that. I thought he would be one of the one or two players taken. I told you Anderson was going to be a game-changing player, and he was. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Okay? Hey, Twiz, what do I have to do with Jordan Davis? What do I have to do with that? I'm not part of the story. He's the one that's a fat body. Chris, what's my failures have anything to do with your fat body? I'll tell you what, Chris. There's a lot of things and the reasons why I didn't succeed in the NFL. His is because he can't push himself away from the table. What's more of a crime? You can't put the cheesesteak down? That's why you'll fail. Because you can't put the cheesesteak down. Or you can't drive by a White Castle without stopping. Damn, there's a White Castle. Shit. It's like kryptonite. White Castle. Shit. Like a strip club to that guy. Yeah. Like a strip club. Man, look, there's White Castles. Hey. Well, at least when Barrett ate the White Castles, he played 12 years. Barrett can eat all the White Castles he wants. He's a 12-year veteran with a Super Bowl ring. Okay? So Barrett can eat White Castles. See, if you're good and you perform, you get the luxuries of having a little indulgence on yourself. But when you're not good and the expectations are high and you haven't lived up to them, you don't have that latitude. You see. $10-pack of sliders, baby. 10-pack of sliders. I got to tell you guys this before we take a timeout, because I think I got to take a timeout, don't I, Xander? Shit, man, I've been just barking here. Don't forget, Craig Carton will be with us at 4:30. So Alonzo Highsmith's in Indianapolis, and so is Dan Morgan. They ran into Caleb Williams. How tall do you think they think he is? Right? How tall do you think they think Caleb Williams is? Highsmith said he walked by him and he was floored. He was absolutely floored. How tall do you think he is? Highsmith and hey, I'm awake, are you? That's exactly what Alonzo said. If that guy is 5'11", I'll be shocked. Breed. Dan Morgan thinks he's 5'10" and a half. He ain't no 6 feet. No way. He's 6 feet. No way. So you're going to draft a 5'10" quarterback in Chicago. Are you really going to do that? A 5'10" quarterback in Chicago. Chris goes, why isn't Caleb throwing? Here's one thing, Chris. I don't have a problem with him not showing his medicals at the combines. I don't have a problem with him not throwing. Here's why. The teams will start dissecting it in a way, and it'll be negative. He wants to probably throw at USC. Friendly environment, throwing to his wideouts, throwing to his guy. He wants home field advantage. He ain't no 6'1". And there's no problem with that. Why in the world would I trust NFL doctors? Why would I trust them? And you see, you know what their spin's going to be? Is he hiding an injury? How would you say that? Because he doesn't want to show you his medicals? You know what he's also telling you? Why wouldn't he not want to show his medicals? Why would he not want to show his medicals at the combines? It's very simple. Caleb Williams, Xander, I haven't looked at it yet. He's got it, I bet. Xander goes, I met him at the Maxwell's last year. He's not very tall. Pete, you're almost on it. I don't think he wants to play in Chicago. So if I'm not going to show you my medicals until I don't want to be the first pick if I'm Jaden Daniels. If I'm LSU Jaden Daniels, I don't want to go to Chicago. Okay? I don't want to go to Chicago as a quarterback. Why would I want to go there? What? To be another quarterback to die in the vine there? Why would I go to Chicago? Caleb's right. Hey, I don't want to play in Chicago. So you know what you do? You don't throw for him. And you don't show him your medicals. And you could do it without being a dick. You just don't do it to all of them. And Chicago has got the first pick. Dude, you don't think Cliff Kingsbury already knows what his medicals are and how he throws the ball? I think he's going to land in Washington. I think Chicago's moving off that. They're going to move down to 2. And I think they're going to take the 2 best players in this draft, from what I'm being told, are Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia. Those are the 2 best players. There's a couple of linemen in there that look like they're pretty good. But those are the 2 impactful players. The rest of them, I look at this quarterback class and go, Bo Nix. I mean, the guy's like 35 years old already. So think about this if you draft Bo Nix. How old is he, 25? So if you draft him in 3 years, he's almost 30. He's 28 years old. What's this guy got? 2 contracts? 2.5? I mean, your window with him is not that wide open. I mean, he's a 25-year-old rookie. He might be 26. He spent 3.5 years at Auburn. And he spent, it looked like, another 3 at Oregon. I don't know. I would look at it like this. Well, shit, kid, you better be good. You're like a senior citizen in college football. You better throw the ball well. And then the kid, Michael Penix, a lot of people not saying anything about him because of his throwing motion. I don't know. Drake May. I look at this class and go, very underwhelming. I don't see it. I didn't see it last year. Stroud shocked me. I won't lie. Okay? Completely wrong on Stroud. The rest of them, I wasn't. Bo Callahan. I think Penix is a second rounder too. I thought Michigan crushed him. And then, Chris, am I right? Chris, if you watched the national championship game, did you see him not ducking? I thought he was ducking from people taking hits on him. Like he was ducking and flinching. Well, shit, dude, you get in the NFC East, you better have some baguettes in that pocket, kid, or you're going to get the hell kicked out of you. That's one thing you got to have, man. You got to have Stundines back there in that pocket, man. That's what makes a great quarterback. Dude, I'm telling you, I think the kid Jaden Daniels is probably the best prospect at the quarterback position. And if I'm him, let Caleb Williams go to Chicago. He'll die there. I'll tell you this. I'll make a prediction. I think Justin Fields will have a better pro career than Caleb Williams. You're trying to tell me you think that kid looks like Patrick Mahomes, and he's got Patrick Mahomes tendencies. When I saw him not beat one team that mattered, he couldn't beat anybody. And he doesn't have the physical size of Josh Allen. It's one thing for Josh Allen to play at Wyoming and not beat anybody because he didn't play with anybody. It's another thing when you're at Southern Cal and you can't beat anybody. And you're supposedly has a coach that was supposed to be your head coach, Lincoln Riley. Good. Hey, two great things that happened. You don't want to hear this? Hey, I'll take Nick Sirianni over Lincoln Riley any day. Any day. I think that guy is the most overrated head football coach in college football. Lincoln Riley's not a good head coach, and he can't recruit. He can't. Shit, the best quarterback he's ever had is Hurts, and it's a transfer. Baker Mayfield. Okay? Name me a quarterback that's a star. Baker Mayfield? Who? Xander's like, hey, Sills, you might want to back that one up. Baker just torched us and torched the fighting Eagles for Nick. Did you watch Caleb versus Washington? He's a freak. Is that the one when he jumped in the stands and he cried on his mom's shoulder? Then they gave him a bottle of Similac. Was that the game he did that? I forget which game it was where they had to give him like a pacifier or something because he was crying in the stands. What game was the one where he was crying in the stands? That was my favorite moment. It was very touching. It was very touching that he, went into the stands and they gave him a pacifier. And he was like, yeah. All right, let me take a timeout. The Fighting Phils. The Fighting Eagles. Fight for Nick. 1-7. Hit the like button. Craig Carton will join us at 4:30. And also, we will have Philly Godfather at 5:30. Keep it here, National Football Show.